All right, kids, here we go. Hopefully nobody else will walk in the office. This is the third time somebody's walked in mid-video, and I don't remember where I'm at. So let's try this again. Thursday, June 30th, 2022. We start with a gym alternating EMOM. The purpose of this is to kind of work on some high heart rate gymnastics movements that we have down pretty well. Meaning, whether I do push-ups or handstand push-ups, or whether I do bar muscle-ups or pull-ups, or ring rows, is going to depend on how far my skills are developed. If I'm not great at handstand push-ups skill-wise or bar muscle skill-wise, I might not do those. Now, we're going to talk more in detail about how to scale in a second, but it starts off minute 1 is 30 double unders. Scales are there for the doubles. You want to pick something you can do in 30 to 40 seconds. I would say 30 seconds if you're doing handstand push-ups, just because there's transition time, right? And the goal is to get some high heart rate gymnastic stuff, not to just do double unders. So push-ups or handstand push-ups, something you could, whether you kip or strict is up to you, but you need to be able to do at least 5 of those. And those of you guys doing like comp track, the CrossFit Plus track, either do kipping or do something you can do full range of. We don't want to do that at mat range because you're always going to be missing that last bit of strength. So you can kip or you can do strict dumbbell press. And then we move on to 15 air squats and max pull-ups or bar muscle-ups. Avoid, like, obviously we're not doing banded pull-ups because we don't do those, but avoid that for muscle-ups as well, mainly because it takes so long to get in and out. It's not really an effective tool for this, for you guys. So what you want to work on is doing the jumping, but with that horizontal pull, so you can really work on, so it looks like a kip. So we're coming up to the bar like that and we can get over. That's probably a more effective way to go if we don't want to do the full bar muscle up. You're going to do that 2 times through. Should take about 5. It takes about 5 minutes, right? Technically 6, but you don't need to rest after the last one. It's just part of the transition time. Then we move on to 3 position clean. I cannot stress this enough. It's all about position here. This is technique learning time. This is the cycle we're in, right? You're going to have to beat it into their heads because there's going to be people who want to overload the bar. Now, this means 2 things. One is we're going to do it from the power position, then the knee, then the floor. Meaning, I don't need momentum because I just did it from the power position with no momentum. So we can really slow them down to make sure that they're at the knee, proper position, so that the shin should be vertical and the shoulders should still be in the front of the bar, and we pull the shoulders back, and that we bring it all the way to the power before you see that explosion, right? If we speed up before then, generally, unless they're very good Olympic weightlifters, there is not a obvious power spike at the power. And most of the time they miss it. The bar loops, they struggle getting under it. So this is the perfect time to slow them down. 90% of positional faults in Olympic weightlifting are fixed by slowing people down. You can't fix them when you're going fast. Number 1. Number 2, when the weight's actually heavy, you don't go that fast, meaning if I'm lifting at 50% composed to 90%, the lifts are going to look completely different. They're going to be different. And that's the worst thing, right? Even if you have mistakes or flaws in your lift, if they're the same flaws, you can generally overcome them. So we want to make everything look the same anyway. For learning, slow it way down. But like, even when you're great at it, 40, 50, 60, 70%, 80% generally needs to be artificially slowed a little bit. Now, the second thing is loading on this. We're never going over an RPE of 3, right? Everybody, a lot of people, it's not a contest. And so we need to stress that if you want to improve on your clean, you need to do this with the proper loading. You get people who, they sacrifice their technique and they start dipping lower in their power because they want to put more weight on for this. That's counterproductive. So keep it to something we could do for sets of 5, right? If they're not sure, especially with intermediate people, have them underestimate what they think. So if they think they can do 100, maybe, and they're not sure, bring them back to 90. Newer people tend to go a little too light, and that's okay. But intermediate people tend to go, they overestimate their ability, so have them pull that and underestimate what they can do back, right? So never below, or never above an RPE of 3 for this. So I should always definitely have 2 reps in the tank, right? Now we finish off with A is for ASIP, which is a good old time here. The day is set up so you could, it only takes it's 7 minutes through. So in theory, you can run 2 heats. One group would just have to wait 7 minutes if you have more than 12 in a class. If you have 12 in a class, start somebody at a different station. So one person starts at a bike, one person starts at a rower, and then one person starts at the assault bike. it's kind of a benchmark. I mean, we're just kind of using it. So make sure that they log where they started so that when they go back and do it, they can start at the same spot. I don't think it'll make drastic differences, but it's nice to have an accurate test. We also have the 30 seconds rest in between so they can understand where to transition, or they can have time to transition. That's kind of a nice thing to have. But I would also, before I get going, I don't just say, hey, start wherever you want. I'm going to put them in groups. I say, hey, get to like as height if I have a big class, right? Because I don't want to have massive adjustments in it. So I'm not going to take somebody who like Kevin, who's well over 6 foot tall, and put them with somebody like Christy, who's 5'4". So make sure that it works a lot better if we compare as many of them up by height as possible. Now, this is a muscle endurance / conditioning workout. So while there is going to be a conditioning feature to this, if you're going 2 minutes all out on each piece of equipment, by the time you get to the second or third one, your legs are going to be burning. And that's an important factor of this. We want to learn, again, to create that lactate, push the lactate threshold so we can do more work in all of our workouts, which is super important, whether it's health or weight loss or whatever it is. So kind of stress why we're doing this. And it's also a good way to see kind of generalize. There's no equipment, no skill really needed in this, except for rowing. So you'll be able to see kind of how conditioning and fitness has improved. So this is kind of a fun one to do. All right, have fun.